Okay, hi everyone. Yeah, today I will be speaking about the Netlify and how to use it for hosting the web application and the websites. I don't know how many of you is familiar with the Netlify, but it is the web service which started as a simple hosting, which then integrated the entire deployment process and allowed to connect the various Git repositories and to create. Afterwards, it as well created the function which allow to create the backend as the service and therefore provides the entire ecosystem for hosting and deploying the web application and websites. And what are the features of Netlify? There is pretty much a lot of features which Netlify has, but we will go through the most important ones and we can go in details by every of them. The first is of course the hosting itself, as Netlify allow you to have the web application or website content and host it on the web and make it accessible through the domain provided. Of course, you can host the content for free. You can even have the unlimited number of the applications or website hosted. And Netlify out of the box provides you the usage of the internal DNS service, and therefore you don't have to own the custom domain. And as well, it's providing the Let's Encrypt certificate. Therefore, once you have the content, you can upload it to the Netlify, and it's working out of the box. You will be provided with a second level domain, something like something.netlify.com, and you can already start the web application. Of course, you are allowed to connect your own domain with Netlify and point this domain on the Netlify DNS, and it will resolve everything. It's actually quite easy to configure these things. If the redirects from the HTTP to HTTPS are provided out of the box, it's just a single checkbox. And if you need to define some other redirects, they are pretty straightforward to set up. And every hosting from Netlify is already backed by the CDN, the Content Delivery Network. They have their own content delivery network, and therefore it saves the traffic and speed ups the websites and application hosted. You can deploy the content either manually or, of course, more important is to connect the Git repository and create the entire build and deploy pipeline. You can as well use with the Netlify the pre-constructed templates for hosting and building various types of the projects. One very nice feature is the A/B testing, because you can define the multiple branches which will be served to the customers of your website, and set like which part or which segment of the customer will be provided which content and collect the feedback. And of course, hosting on its own without the deployment automation wouldn't be that useful. Therefore, you can set up the deployment with the Netlify in three very simple steps. You need to define the Git repository, then set the build command which we used, and then the directory which is the result of the build and will be published on your website. Netlify takes care of the rest, so it will purge the DNS cache or the CDN cache and allows you even to do the simple rollbacks with single clicks if it is necessary. Of course, when the build fails, there is no deployment happening. And when talking about the deploys, you are not restricted just to deploying the production branch, but you can set up as well multiple other branches. You can have, like, let's say the staging branch or some QA branch or something else. You can even automate the creation of the preview deploys for every created pull request. And there is quite nice bot integrated together with the GitHub, for example. So for every PR created, there is automatically created deployments. If it is merged, then it is removed in the environment, and that's quite easily allows to manage the testing. Of course, you can do much more with the deploys. You can, for example, insert some HTML snippets after the build is created. This is useful, for example, for the analytics or some third-party codes. you have access to the secret storage, which allows you to store for example, the database credentials or some other credentials out of the Git repository. This is useful in the case when you have a public repository, because otherwise it will be accessible to everyone. And there is quite a lot of another plugins which can augment the build. And apart from this, there is quite a lot of other features which are not useful for every use case. And one of them is, for example, the Netlify forms. In case you have a very simple website, for example, some presentation website for the company, then you, with the Netlify forms, you do not need to create some database and as well some backend, but you can leave the form submission and data collection to the Netlify. You will just insert the snippet, or actually you do not have even to insert the code snippet. You just adapt the form inside your HTML, and Netlify upon the deploy will scan the website for these forms and do some augmentation and insert its own code to collect the data from the form. This is pretty useful for very small websites, because then you can review inside the Netlify platform the collected data. As well, these forms are secured by the CAPTCHA, and there is even spam filtering available. And of course, the resulting the collected data you can integrate with some other providers. So other feature from Netlify is Netlify Analytics. This is not a free feature; you have to pay for it, but it provides you with some basic analytics as the visit audience measurement, then the page views, and few more things. But the major feature of the analytics is the fact that it is happening on the server. So we do not have to insert any JavaScript code, and therefore we are out of the box fully compliant with the GDPR and other privacy measures. This is a very nice feature. One drawback of this analytics is the fact that because it's running on the server nodes, it's not useful for the single page application, because it wouldn't track the navigation inside the application, of course. Or if the application is cached by the service worker, for example, locally, then you will not hit the server and it wouldn't know that actually user is opening the application. Other feature is the Netlify Identity. This is the authentication provider from the Netlify. It, of course, provides you with the registration process, the logins, password recovery. It integrates with the external providers as the Bitbucket, GitHub, GitLab, Google, and you can customize the various email templates which are used in the process as the invitation, confirmation, or recovery template. And the other pretty important feature, which was released quite recently, are the Netlify functions. These Netlify functions are based on the AWS Lambda, and there are multiple kinds of the functions. The default one is the on-demand function, which is running once the request hit the server. This can run up to 10 seconds. Then you can have the background functions, which are running in the background up to 15 minutes. Or you can recently, when using the integration with the Query and this beta feature, you can have the schedule functions, which are pretty similar to the well-known cron jobs that can be running multiple times a day, and I think I'm not restricted with the time how long they can run. Very special kind of the functions are the edge handlers. These are the functions which are running directly on the CDN edge nodes, and they are restricted with 50 milliseconds lifetime and are used to augment the traffic. For example, one use case could be that depending on the headers of the request, you will redirect or serve the content with different language variant for the visitors, or something else would be maybe to collect some metadata or some traffic information. And these Netlify functions can be written in 3 different languages. Of course, JavaScript and TypeScript is pretty standard, but you can even use the Go language. And of course, you can use the power of the Netlify CLI to spin the local server and develop these Netlify functions locally, and as well to simplify the deployment. Actually, the deployment of Netlify functions is pretty straightforward because they are deployed together with the rest of the repository and rest of the project. You just have to keep the function inside the defined folder. in the repository. And good question, or question asked by many people, is like, where are the databases? Of course, you can have the functions, but they are not that useful without the database. This is one of the drawbacks of the Netlify. They do not provide database themselves, and they have no data layer, but they are integrating with the third parties, which provides this feature. You can have, for example, the data stacks, which provider which have the managed Cassandra DB cluster, or use the Fauna DB, or for example, there is the integration with the StepZen, which allows you to have your own database. And of course, you can always just connect the Netlify functions with your own instance of the database, but that probably wouldn't be the fastest because it has to communicate over the network. You may be asking, like, what is the price of the Netlify? Well, it's for free. The basic tier is free and it contains quite a lot of features. So you can build, deploy, and host the basic web application or small website for free. And even though you are kept with some with the traffic, with the data you can serve, and some visit and number of builds, this is not really a restriction for the application, as I will show you later. So it's completely free, but of course there are the paid tiers when you need to get more features. For example, for 19 bucks a month, you can increase the quotas for the traffic, for the builds as well. You can use the private Git repositories, which is pretty important feature for many projects. You get access to the background functions and much more. And for bigger projects, it's very good to use the business feature, which is still not that expensive, and it's removing all the quotas for the content. And you have now 5 concurrent builds, and you can even get, for example, the single sign-on. And of course, when you are enterprise, you can get the custom deal. And now the question is, like, what are the alternatives? Of course, Netlify is not the only on the market. You can check, for example, the render.com. This is the very similar service. They have I think even more features than the Netlify. And as the major benefit is the fact that they have the managed Postgres database, and they have pretty solid free tier. Question is, like, why not to use them? The answer would be that Netlify is a lot easier to use. And I've been checking them, and with Netlify, it was straightforward. You do not need to read any documentation. Just click through, and you have deployed stuff and connected repository and so on. Here, of course, you need to invest some time. And same is actually true for the Google Cloud and the Firebase database. Then you have a lot of features, definitely more, but of course, it's not that intuitive and that easy to use. And as well, the pricing probably in case of Google Cloud wouldn't be that friendly once you hit certain limits. And now I think that's enough of the theory, and we can show how it works in practice. So let me change the screen. Hey, come on. And I already have one account on the Netlify, and we can add the new project. I just forked the React border project on the GitHub, and I will deploy this on the Netlify. We will add the new site. You can actually start from the template. In this case, you will pick the template for deploying, like for all the pre-created projects, which already integrate some and customize some features. You can then have the manual deploy. This is in the case you just want to upload some static content and do not care much about the deployment. But of course, in this case, we will import the existing project. As I was already mentioning, you can connect with the GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, or even connect with the on-premise version if you have the business account. I will be connected to GitHub in this case. And I already allowed to deploy the React border project. So we just click, set up a couple of things. Base directory, actually, that's fine. Build command, publish should be built. And I think it should not need to anything more here to get this running. And oh, we already have the deploy running. Let's check it. And as you can see, it started the job. It will take a while. Initially, afterwards, it will cache the installation of the packages and few more things. So actually, like running the build multiple times pretty fast. And in the meantime, we can see the deploy settings, what you can configure here. For example, as we had already, you can change the repository, but going here, you can define the branches which will be used in this case. So for example, to allow or deny the deploy previews. In this case, yeah, it's set by default set up in the way that whenever you create the pull request in the repository, it will create the separate preview build for it. So then you can add some hooks and even much powerful to define the environment variable that we were in this secret storage. And if we, for example, need to add some analytics, then we can insert the snippets either inside the head or the body. And let's check if it was already deployed. Yeah. And we can now preview the result. And hi, just in, I think, less than 5 minutes, we have ready to use application. Of course, this is just as it was in the repository. And I can already show that the continuous deployment is already running and set up with just these few clicks. Because if we do some edit and let's say we can change the name of the application, for example, the strings. And let's edit it online and we call our application. We just change the name of the application and commit. No, we don't have one new branch. You can just commit directly. And there should be picked up. Yeah, there is already new build triggered and it will be deployed in a short while. Of course, in the meantime, if you are bored waiting for the deploy to happen, you can play the couple of games. Let's check. No, not yet. Yeah, now it is done. You can preview the new version of the application. You can see that the new version is deployed. We changed the title of the application. If it happens that, for example, you do not want this version, it's pretty straightforward to roll back to the previous one. You can just select the version. And nope, it's wrong. Oh, there it is. You can definitely use this previous version instead of the new one. Here it is. You can just publish the previous version and if you check it in a short while, you should be able to see. Let's actually go to the and open it directly from here. Yeah, we are back to the previous version. The title was changed. And as well, what I can show is how to set up the domains. The site settings, I think. Domain management, of course. Right now, we can add. You can add the custom domain. Of course, in this case, well, we did not purchase any domain, but you can verify domain and connect it to the Netlify What I can show is the already running website, because we have the real Slovak version of the Wordle. You can even check it here. This is the application which was created by me, and it's running on the Netlify. It's still using the free tier, and here we can see that we have pretty much a lot of deploys. Even can be seen that, okay, in the case the deploy fails or there was created the pull request, this one was failing, so it didn't create any preview, but you can have quite nice overview inside the dashboard to see like how the application was working. For example, the other feature I was mentioning was the form submission. In this case, this is disabled because, well, there is no form to collect. And it is in the case you are scanning the application code for the forms, it's slowing down the deploy, because it's another step which needs to be done. And of course, in the custom domains, here you can see the configuration, which is defining that, okay, we have the redirect from the www to the main primary domain. Without it, we as well have the custom certificate defined in this case. And it was pretty straightforward to do everything using the Netlify. I really recommend, if you need to deploy some simple project which doesn't have the backend or has very simple backend, then with Netlify you can do it in a couple of minutes and it's for free. Any questions? And thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Joško, for your talk. So now we have a time for Q&A, but Joško asked if someone from you have any questions. So feel free. Joško, from your side, it's all.
Yeah, if there are no questions, I think this is it.
Okay, thank you then. Enjoy your day. Thank you, Joško.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Josi. Ciao.
Thanks, bye.
Bye, thanks. Bye.